What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am Nefarious, and not with me today is Frequency Girl, which is why Nick is on the screen already, because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to StreamYard. But we are joined today by our special guest, Nicholas Demon Hunter Raven Mueller, founder of BMR Comics, here to tell us all about his comic book crowdfunding campaign, Radiant Rapture, and the Demon Hunter Raven Omnibus, now available over on Kickstarter. Nick, what's up, my dude?
I'm doing good. I like the new intro. You guys have beefed it up since the last time I've watched. I always end up catching clips of your guys' show, but wow, that was nice. I like the guitar. Did you guys have someone do that, or did you guys?
Oh no, we licensed music for it. You know, Adobe's got a fantastic library. You can go in there, you can play around with all of their music samples, everything, and then as long as you have a subscription to Adobe products, which is kind of like a necessary evil these days, right. You can license and use their free music library. That is what we did. They've got some really cool stuff though. We used some of their stuff in our trailer too. We're looking at beefing up the intro a little bit, maybe with some clips or some funny, goofy animated stuff that other people are doing. Because there are a lot of shows out there, the TSS with Black Rose Comics. I mean, that's a terrible example. His stuff's garbage. Lord Kraken's got one. Bankruft's got a great intro. I don't remember if Tyler's got an intro. I usually tune in after he's already started. But
yeah, he's got his girl with the Mega Fist one that he does.
Oh, right, and he sings his own song.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I think
not jealous at all.
Not jealous at all. And she was like really impressed by his singing ability. We got to get him on the karaoke stream when we start that back up. You don't happen to sing, do you?
No. Well, if I do, it tends to send people into like shock. It breaks windows. People are covering their ears. It's more of a deterrent. Like if you brought me into Ukraine right now, we could probably end the war right now with my singing. It would just stop everything right on the spot. So, it would cause some good damage.
All right, before we get into the interview, why don't we say hello to people in the chat? We give them a little bit of time to filter in here. Speaking of filters, we've got Black Rose Comics, The Pool Filter. We've got Mo Biggs, hail the chat. We've got Hockey. Good day, Hockey. We got Rich Ayala, Roach Balls, now on Indiegogo. Check that campaign out. He is kicking butt. He's at 11K. Let's try and get him to 15 people. We can do it. Hashtag crackpack same 100 and all that. And we got the Frog G, Link Master Extraordinaire, in the chat, helping us stay connected to all those cool things we like to talk about. We've got the Cavalry Collective. Nick's singing voice is perfect. Don't let him lie to you. Okay, well, we're going to have to drag you onto the karaoke stream and find out what the truth is. Because, if Cavalry Collective is saying that you sound like an angel, then we might have to try you in. Hey, look, it's Frequency Girl. Hail, everybody. Have a great show. Going to sing now. Bye. All right. Bye, Frequency Girl. We got, I think that is everybody, if I'm not mistaken. If I haven't seen you, I will see you soon. Well, Big says, hashtag crack pack out here in the chat every day, smoking crack. Bow. That is how we do. He also said something about Adobe. He said, F Adobe. They've allowed the CCP to strong arm them into holding back Comics Blast for too long. And we all know how much Mo loves his Comics Blast. Hockey says, I am hands deep in flour. I can't chat. That's okay, Hockey. Hockey has an incredible singing voice. If you didn't know, he's way talented. He plays the guitar. He saves our karaoke stream all the time. I don't know what we would do without him. We got Felix Haas. Hey, what's up, Felix Haas in the chat? Thank you so much for tuning in. Glad to have you with us. I guess Cavalry Collective is apologizing to you because he has blown up your spot, and now we're gonna rope you into singing on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been on the show before, right?
Yes, it was a year ago. It was a year ago, I think, at this time.
A year. That's a long time. Let's catch the audience up on what you've been into since we had you here for Demon Hunter Raven Volume 3, right?
Yeah.
Right. In between that and now, you did crowdfund Sunchild.
Yes, and that was with Cavalry Collective, who's in the chat right now. That's Paul Tucker.
Yep.
So at the end of Volume 3, we ended up killing off Raven, and out of that exploded a whole entire new universe of heroes that need to come out and save the universe. So I think I've become known as the demon hunter person. That I turn everyone into a demon hunter now. Like we just, as a joke, did Winnie the Pooh as a demon hunter, and that took on legs of its own, and people seem to be enjoying that. We're putting up a free version of that for people to read right now. But yeah, I think I've been known to turn anyone into a demon hunter as kind of my motif or joke and everything. So, but anyways, yeah, we killed the main character of our series.
Yeah. You know,
last year.
This guy right here.
Yeah,
you
that guy.
killed him. You know, it's I guess for a lot of people that's not a spoiler because they have read it. But for those of us getting the omnibus, you know, on this campaign, trying to get into it, that is a pretty major like a revelation. Oh, by the way, you know, the main character, he's dead.
It's gone. Just got rid of him. But it sets forth the motions of what's going on now, and actually, Radiant Rapture, which is the one we're kickstarting right now or funding. I know there's people that prefer Indiegogo to Kickstarter. I just prefer Kickstarter just because of it's simpler for me to use.
Bro, you can always go in demand there.
Yeah,
we can always just port you over, and people can pick up the omnibus because if they've missed out on anything Demon Hunter Raven related, they can just get that book. We'll talk about how much of a value it is at 250 pages, along with the Radiant Rapture campaign that you've got. But yeah, like it's very easy to go over. You're already funded, so you're successfully crowdfunded, which means you qualify for in demand on Indiegogo. Only things that successfully fund can go in demand. But you know, giving other people the opportunity to grab that book is not a terrible idea. You're seeing a lot of it starting to happen, going in the other direction. You're seeing a lot of people running Indiegogos who are like, you know what, let's just go grab ourselves a Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, and there's two different groups. Like there's two different audiences that shop on both things. You'll have to show me how to do that on Indiegogo because I didn't even know that
it's simple.
You could switch
simple.
over there. Because I've seen people.
I don't know how. Times. I have no idea, but Frequency Girl, she knows.
Okay, well, we'll have to chat afterwards or another time corresponding because I didn't even know you could do that. I mean, I knew about in demand, but I didn't know that you could reconnect afterwards. Or however you say.
You can move it over.
Cool.
As long as it's not the same campaign. You can't run a campaign on Indiegogo and then run the exact same campaign on Kickstarter, or I think vice versa. You have to switch up something about it. So maybe removing some tiers, just doing the basics. But I think if you go in demand, you can offer the same thing. But if you run a Kickstarter after an Indiegogo, it's a separate campaign and you have to do a separate campaign. That's why it's a little bit more difficult going from one direction to the other. But I want to throw it up there. Our boy Raiden Radio's got Norlum right now on Kickstarter. I was checking out all the things that are on there to see if there are any campaigns that I want to drag on here to interrogate about, their crowdfunding experience. And I ran across this. I was just like, oh, look, I know that book. I backed that on Indiegogo. So
that's a good looking cover.
It's getting more and more prevalent for people to take a chance at going to crowdfund on Kickstarter once they've already run their stuff on Indiegogo, where they may have their primary audience. I guess like the embargo may be lifting. Who knows?
That's cool.
We've also got
gets people like me too, because I'll buy off of there. Yeah, if you put your book on there, I'm more likely to back.
Tyler's done a Kickstarter and then he went on to Indiegogo. You could go, I guess it depends upon where you're marketing to your audience. And that's who you really want to hit first to make sure that you're, nice and solid. And then the other is like a secondary campaign.
True.
We got Greg Levitt in the chat. What's up, Greg? We've got Connery from Dragon Multimedia. Hey, we've got Armin Nassim. Welcome, Armin. So glad to have you here. He is killing it too. This boy's put out 3 campaigns. He's on his 3rd campaign already. Dang. And he's been doing this less than a year. It's crazy.
That's pretty good.
A whole bunch planned. I mean,
really
we should connect the two of you because he's got a lot of interesting ideas. He's a real go-getter. He's very motivated. Not like me. I do 1 campaign a year and, run a YouTube
but then you blow all of us out the water with your 1 campaign. So I don't know.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm chasing bigger numbers too, right? So let's catch people up. You did the Sunchild campaign. You did Demon Hunter Raven. You launched the Divine Anomaly. Do you want to tell us about the Divine Anomaly some more?
Sure. So it's kind of it's a shared interconnected universe that allows me to play with anything at any moment that is going to partake within this same sort of universe. I think a lot of us are kind of disgruntled and are really not happy with what the big two are doing, like Marvel and DC. But I still like a lot of us still want to enjoy those stories. They want to enjoy that sort of shared thing. Like I always loved like when, let's say Thor was fighting an ice giant, and for some reason New York got snow on it. And then in Spider-Man, he'd be like, "Man, there's snow for some reason." So there'd be like these cool little shared tidbits throughout the universe or the stories. And if you were following those stories, you would you would catch up on those little tidbits. So this is just kind of my way to jump in and out of certain stories and tell it from different perspectives, and give certain characters more room to tell other stories that maybe like with Demon Hunter Raven, it's got kind of a niche idea of like depression, isolation, and people going through really harsh traumatic things compared to a Sunchild that's this hippie demon hunting battle guy. So that they don't always share the same story threads and allow us to kind of flex more muscles because I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of creators out there that kind of like don't want to get stuck in the same genre or drawing the same thing over and over again. I really like to kind of be versatile and jump out there and do other things. So without being pigeonholed or stuck in a corner, I like to kind of expand beyond those areas. So this is really kind of a chance to play in several different corners, but yet have it make sense and tell good stories, and not lambast people with certain ideals or talk down to people. Their stories first. They're about characters and a chance to kind of just grow with these characters, especially the caveat that these like DC and Marvel characters, they don't grow, they don't change. Maybe we'll see a change at the end of the arc, but then we're pretty much putting them right back to square one to set up.
They barely age, too.
Right.
I mean, that's what made Old Man Logan such a revelation, or things like Days of Future Past, where they suddenly create an entirely new setting with the characters that you're familiar with, but dramatically different. And that's what people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. I think Marvel may have lost their way a little bit, creating multiple different dimensions and versions of characters that we don't know which one is like the right one anymore, the right one or like the main one, whatever. So but back originally, like when we would have a single line of continuity and then you would have these little event books, I thought that was really cool. Like Old Man Logan was sweet, you know.
It was fun.
Garrett hated the way it was drawn, but I liked the storyline.
Oh, Steve McNiven is kind of one of my favorites because he's got such a veracity to his lines. It's hard to replicate. He's like, when you see his art, you know who it is. And I think it's hard to replicate because he's got such an evocative style that comes out there. But yeah, you're right. Like even Marvel's multiverse stuff is kind of like they just grab tidbits of it, and if it works in one thing it's successful, then they integrate that into the main line, which I understand that's done for sales and to bolster things, but rarely is it ever done in a way that organically flows into the story. It's just like, oh, hey, it's there now, and you're going to deal with it. And it's hard to say, like, is that editors? Is that the writers? Is it higher up? Like, who has the final say? You've got too many, maybe too many bosses, too many chiefs in there trying to, maybe manage things. Who's got to say over it? So that's kind of the fun thing about the Divine Anomaly is it's really just a small group of us. Like we're going back to those early days of like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and we're just putting some fun stuff. Like if it's fun,
small studio stuff. Yeah. You guys are all generating a bunch of characters and dipping your toes in different genres and pies. I guess, dipping your toes in pies is weird analogy.
But that would actually work for the Divine Anomaly because it's really weird. It's not normal. It does kind of, we're known for doing kind of out there things, but yet it's trying to keep it somewhat maintained in a coherent sort of sense. I would say early on, that was one of the biggest things that I learned was that, I can go as weird as I want, but I have to keep it coherent and make it sense to the reader. So that was really great. Guys like Brandon Hallsworth, Paul Tucker, and Matthew Reese have really helped me by editing stuff, get this all like I'm the one talking to you about it, but there's several people that have really helped kind of format and get this structured and talk about the world building. Like the history, like right now, Radiant Rapture is going way back to the past in the 1100s in France to build up
Templar stuff. I'm really digging it. Yeah. I really am. I mean, like, it's setting stages and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm just digging the look of it. I read the campaign through. I was like, holy crap, this is like perfect. And she's a cool character. I got to say real quick, yes, this is a Chibi Aerith T. I did pick this up off of Volume 2. I think it was Volume 2. Aerith is going to be launching Volume 3. Just dropped a 4-minute trailer. The guy is insane. Wow. 4 minutes. Trailers don't sell comics, but this is really not selling comics. Armin's got a launch party for his book for Elixir tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Let's all try and tune in if we can. We got Neostar. I saw you coming earlier, bro. I didn't say hello to you. I threw you up on the screen, but thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and listening to, all about Demon Hunter Raven and the Divine Anomaly. I think we're all caught up now. So who all is in this? I know Demon Hunter Raven is dead, sadly. We've got Sunchild. We've now got what's her name? The nun. I can't remember.
Yeah, so her name is Naomi. And
yeah.
And she has this armor called the Radiance that is going to help her fight against something called the Nocturnal King, which is going to be... So the reason why you want to get... If you read Demon Hunter Raven Volume 3, there was something that we called the Nocturnal, and it was just briefly kind of shown, but it was this huge sort of MacGuffin device that was used throughout the story. Now we're going to go back into Radiant Rapture, and we're going to explain everything to you. We're going to show the foundation of the Order, which is what Raven was part of at the beginning. They're kind of a paramilitary organization within the church that goes down and hunts and exorcises demons, but they're a hidden society within our culture. So we're kind of going back to the actual roots of where did they come from. How did they become corrupt? How do they operate? Why do they do the things that they do? Because there were some huge revelations throughout Demon Hunter Raven as to this organization and their actual intent and what they were going and striving for. So we're going to go backwards now and tell some of the past history of a lot of these characters and the bumps in the road. And then it will affect our stories coming up this summer.
Tyler only tunes in for you and Freq Girl.
Oh no, Tyler, you got to stay.
No, it's okay. It's okay. He'll stay if we mention the crossover with Girl with the Mega Fist, because you do have a really cool little mini comic or something that I saw. If you backed Girl with the Mega Fists on Kickstarter and you back
or Indiegogo, either one.
Or Indiegogo, okay, even better. And you back this campaign, you get a small mini comic. Who was that written by?
Paul Tucker, the guy that did Sunchild.
There it is. Yeah.
Calvary Collective here in the chat. So yeah, if you back his campaign, if you've backed it on Kickstarter or you plan on backing it on Indiegogo, as long as it's still live, and you back my campaign, we are going to give you a free 4-page short crossover with both of our characters, just as a plain thank you, just for supporting us. We just want to say thank you for coming out and supporting us and getting us to where we can be. So it's a fun, real short little story about both of our characters meeting, and they have nothing in common, and it just hilarity ensues because my character's from the past, his is from this other realm. So the clashes of their characters and what they understand is just hilarity ensues quite easily.
And Tyler says, Joke's got to support Nicholas. See, he's here for you now. He's not here for me. Yes, Collision Bomb, I am feeling better. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is a head cold. I am slowly recovering, but I'm not in bad shape or anything. So Neff down 3 steaks last night. He got a bad tummy ache. No, I went out into the world. For those of you that don't know, I like to stay cloistered in my little haven in the woods, but whenever I go into society, I run the risk of interacting with humans. I think I'm allergic because I got a little fever and a sore throat, and I was I got knocked on my butt. But Freq Girl fed me some tussin, and I got better. So I'm feeling much better today. Yes, back it and get the crossover. That's already been done, my friend. And you still got time to back Girl with the Mega Fist too, just to get that crossover.
I do think that ends this week, though, doesn't it? Does his campaign
end this yours?
Yeah, I think his is actually before mine. So there's only a few more days, I think, if people want in on that crossover. It's only a few more days, I believe.
Definitely get in on the crossover. I got to see it. I mean, it's going to be exciting because it's written by someone who did not write either of the characters. So Paul is going off of what he's read and what he gets speaking to you and speaking to Tyler. I know it's only 4 pages, but as Travis will tell you, the last time he was on this show, I grilled him about all of the characters on the 1-pager he made me do. So I know Paul is thorough. I read Sunchild right here. Once again, there's a whole bunch of covers. This is the one that I picked because I thought it was the most interesting one. So
that's by Beatrice, who is doing all the colors for these covers that we've been doing. I've brought her onto the team. Excellent. And she has challenged me as an artist and upped the quality of all our products just by her amazing skills. There's days where I'm just like, why aren't you doing all the books? Oh, that's right, we don't. But she's
amazing. True, Mo. I forgot to smoke my Craxine booster rock. It's true, I did. I sound like Jeremy. That I haven't started talking about fractals, Collision Bomb. I don't sound like Jeremy until I start getting lost in the mysteries of the universe. I'm not nearly as cool or as talented as he is. Said hello to Phoenix just in case. Welcome to the chat, my dude. Glad to have you with us. Let's get back to it. So you got Naomi. This is set in the past. It's connected to the rest of the Divine Anomaly, but different. So I think all of these stories have to deal with the demons, right? You said this is the Nocturnal this time. You introduced the idea of the Nocturnal at the end of Demon Hunter Raven Volume 3, and now we're continuing with that idea, but this story is set way back in the past. So how are you connecting all of these different stories with the through line? What is holding them all together?
So there's going to be a few things that kind of tie in. You might see some characters jump into other titles. Just because they have their main title doesn't mean that they are stuck in that corner. You might see them jump into other places. We actually had a character that was in Demon Hunter Raven Volume 3 that will be appearing in another. She's from a whole entire another series. The detective actually isn't even part of the Demon Hunter thing. She's going to be from another series that we haven't even announced yet. But the other thing too is just plot lines. I like how Assassin's Creed plays with history and modern time at the same time. So you'll see a lot of history dropping back and forth. So Radiant Rapture deals with the past of the Order. This summer, we're going to be introducing one of the actual knights of the modern day Order. His name is the Holy Knight Crusader. So while in the past we're dealing with the foundation and the origins and the roots of this organization, the Crusader series will be dealing with the modern day story of, how are they now adapting to this sort of foundation? Does it still hold merit? Does it still go in the direction that it was set into?
And that'd be this character, yeah?
Yes, that would be the Crusader. And he plays a huge part because he was heavily part of Demon Hunter Raven, and he was the mentor to Raven after they got into a slight disagreement over things.
I love him there too. It's a good
look. And he's kind of my more stoic soldier character. Doesn't take crap from anyone, and he's got a plan. He jumps in there. You got to be when you're a demon hunter, you got to be tough, and you can't just let things slide. He's the top commander of his unit, and so it's really important for him to lead and take things seriously, because demons in this universe aren't they don't they're sort of animalistic. They will go after you to feed off of you. They don't care about whether you had a bad day.
They don't look like happy guys. They look like they're pretty nasty. With their evil looking armor covered in gems, their ferocious flesh eating dogs and armies of demon hordes in the background. Definitely not something you want to be tangling with.
Exactly.
Got to be tough to take that on.
So that will be the part that we're encompassing, though, is how throughout history they've always been dealing with this, but different factions, different groups have kind of appeared and had to take on these results. Like Sunchild itself doesn't deal with anything with the Order. It's a whole entire different group and a different person that has everything outside of that, because the Order is a more militaristic vision of demon hunting, while Sunchild is more of your sort of drifter, your guy that's just kind of going from land to land, looking for people to help, that he's just kind of coming into confrontations with demonic forces. So that was kind of the fun part too, is a lot of people have, because mine was always more about the secret societies, and when other people came and said, well, have you thought about these sort of groups or these sort of people? it opened up the area. That's where more of the divine anomaly opened up to looking at the different corners of this universe to be like, well, not everyone's going to be part of this military faction. You're going to have different groups, and even in different countries. How would the European area, look at this compared to the Americans or Australia or something like that? So,
Hey, Red Gaze, thank you so much for tuning in, my dude. I'm glad to have you here with us. Hockey says, so the demons are like B-Rose? I don't know, man. I mean, I think the demons are more literary at the very least. They make better villains. I don't know if B-Rose makes such a good villain. He might just eat lots of, fried chicken.
Right.
What's up, Amanda B? Wait, where's Frequency Girl? Frequency Girl, I miss you. I know everyone's gonna say how much they make for Miss Frequency Girl. She's off at chorus tonight. This is usually why we don't stream on Tuesdays, but I was sick last night, so I rescheduled Nick for tonight, and I'm flying solo by my dolo. Hopefully I don't screw this up. YOLO. Hey Jeremy, we got Zayd in the chat. Zayd Studios working on something for a secret behind the scenes. The two of you will be talking in not too long. You and Jeremy,
Cool.
sharing some intellectual property. You know what I mean? So please,
Always
please
up for that.
Yeah, always down, right? This is really nice. I like the art style. I like the coloration. I like your backgrounds that you're putting in there.
Thank you.
It's a far cry from what we saw with early Demon Hunter Raven,
Yeah. It's been each book you'll kind of see a change in artistic quality. I think I started. Yeah, as officially, this has been 2 years now that I just started my first crowdfunder, and that first book was really rough. It was it doesn't stand to what I'm doing now, and even then, I think a year from now, this won't even look like what I'm trying to go for. So it's been fun, but at the same time, it's hard to look back at some of the older things because they don't necessarily stand up as well as maybe what I would want it to nowadays. So it's always a challenge to repurpose older material.
Speaking of repurposing older material, you do have the Demon Hunter Raven Omnibus included on this campaign, right? So is any of that material remastered, or is it just the collected works reprinted in a larger volume?
So I remastered it a little bit last year for the last campaign, but now this one just collects it all in one cohesive package with that beautiful art rendering that Beatrice did with me. So it's because we ended up redoing part of it last year with Matthew Reese was editing it with me, and we had some huge pacing issues and some jumps in story that some people were confused by. So we went back and added maybe about 50 pages to the original first volume. So people that were on the first two Kickstarters have versions of the story that are still prevalent, but we made it more cohesive, more understandable. So
yeah, you filled in some of the gaps that people may have had. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you always have the opportunity when you're going back to do little touch-ups to fill things in a little bit, maybe an extra scene to bridge a hole that maybe you didn't notice. No, I know about that. It's one of the things about the rewrite process, right? It's why you show it to as many people as you can, and they go, "Well, what about this thing?" Hey, what's up, Immortal Rising Comic? Glad to have you with us. So yeah, this is Naomi, right? This is the main character, Naomi. Why don't you tell us about her a little bit more?
Yeah, so in Radiant Rapture, Naomi is a nun when we start out, and she becomes a demon hunter because of the Nocturnal King that just suddenly he appears in the middle of the night and just starts conquering land. And they start subjugating people into slavery and putting them into work and stuff like that. But that's if you oppose him. He also comes out with a promise of saying, but I will, if you follow me and you join my army, I'm going to grant you pleasures and a bunch of easy life. Because in 1100 France, you can imagine lifestyle. Your life isn't going to be very easy. It's a very hard sort of lifestyle. So Naomi, though, is part of the monastery. She's a nun, and she's not swayed by some of these promises that are coming out. And she ends up coming into a conflict where she has to pick up a sword and save some people from the oncoming attack that her village it gets ensued in. So she's kind of a fiery, fierce person. She's known to be kind of blunt, straightforward with people, and she doesn't really back down from her own ideals and truth. She's not afraid to kind of say it as it is, and will walk up to anyone and make things correct or correct them as they need to be. So she's been a fun character to work on. And I hate when people try to be like, oh, she's a strong, independent woman, because I would say that's not how we would describe her here. She's originally an orphan, and she was taken in by the nuns and brought up that way, and was kind of actually considered a black sheep of the group because they just didn't see her as part of the family. So she's always been kind of searching. She's always been kind of just looking for a place to long for. She does, because she never felt that she was part of anything. But then she also feels, in contradiction, a empathy for people and a love for people that are on the outside, or people that are going through hard times. Like, she wants to help them. So she's very much in with giving to the poor, helping out people in hard times, and giving back to people. But she's also just very boisterous in her concerns.
B-Rose has this backstory. So is she as staunch but compassionate with the Night King? I want to call him the Night King. That's not his name.
Oh, the Nocturnal King. Yeah,
the Nocturnal King. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Nocturnal King, the way that I wrote this line, where I described that when people come into contact with him, he has this aura of vileness that makes people want to throw up because of the intense hatred they can feel off of him. And in contrast to him, she's got this empathy and compassion that comes from her, where she wants to love on people, and she just wants to help people. Because I don't know if I used to work in an area where we would try to help alcoholics or people recovering from drug addiction. And sometimes when you're trying to help people, they bite back. They don't always want that sort of help. So you kind of have to have somewhat of a thick skin, which I know all of us in the arts and the creative endeavors need to have a thick skin when we're taking criticism. But there's something about people going through addictions and trying to get them into that especially want help and trying to get them into a better place. The sort of reaction they'll have to being shown something better. So that's how she views things, is she wants people to live a better life, but there's sometimes not everyone's as willing, or they don't understand. So she'll get a lot of people biting back at her that don't understand or see what she's talking about. So every once in a while, I'll come back to bite her in the butt when she's trying to help someone.
That sounds so Neostar says, no complaints here, Nicholas. There's a big difference between a strong, independent woman and a loudly insecure woman being pushed into modern media. And we've got Maddie Fowler. I don't know. Should we send the link? Should we send Fowler the link?
I don't know. I don't have anything to hide, so I think we're good.
No fudge. No fudge. Okay.
I did see that stream. That was hilarious.
He definitely cuts to the heart of things. Yes. You know, he's got no problem calling shit out. All right, so that's Naomi. Why don't you tell us about the Templar General here?
Okay, so this is General Luis, and he is leading the Templar Knight, or the Crusaders that are part of this monastery. So they're in this time we are in between crusades, basically. So the current knights, or the people that would have been roaming at this time, would have been more like hired hands or mercenaries. So the monastery, or the landowner, the noble that owns this area, that the monastery or beyond, hired out these group of mercenaries, Crusaders, and he is the head general of them. So he protects the area. He watches over it and keeps something that's very important that's in the monastery that we'll talk about when we get to the cleric. But his job is to oversee the compound. But he's not a nice person. His main focus is always to be driven by winning and by any means necessary. So he's more known in the story for losing a lot of men, but always succeeding. Like, his blood count, his body count is very high, but people don't get in his way because he gets results. So he's kind of a contradiction of that. He doesn't care about life. He comes from a very sort of well-to-do background, so he's not worried about losing things, or always he's never in need. He's never in need. He always has what whatever he can get, and he doesn't care about the people underneath him. As long as he gets the job and he gets what he needs out of it, that's all he cares about. So he's always in constant opposition with Naomi, who, again, going back to her sort of boisterous opposition, she cares about people. He doesn't. These two butt heads constantly. because deep down inside she also wants to be a warrior, and what she sees him doing just boils her blood. She gets really mad by his lack of concern for the people that he is over. And the people that are under him normally don't have a say always. They're just following orders, and a lot of them know that if you go to war with him, there's a pretty high chance you might not come back.
We got Eric tuning in, hanging out with us right now. I don't know if I said hello to 24 Eyes earlier, so I'm amending that now. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us. We've also got Dean. I don't think I said hello to Dean earlier, so thank you for tuning in. Comics Mate, glad to have you. So that is the Templar General. Who is this? Who is the Cleric?
So she's kind of she's kind of an unknown character at the beginning of the story. Her name is a cleric, and she is guarding something in the monastery. She has an important role, and she's kind of over the general, or over the Templars. She has a secret mission that she's upholding, that the monastery is not telling everyone what they're there for. But she is part of a organization that is partaking in something at the moment that has ramifications in other parts of the story. So she's a figure that is very important, but her role will be revealed in the story more. But she's
cool. And of course, then there's the Nocturnal King, right?
Yes.
Looking like Thanos the zombie.
Yeah, so he's just appeared in the middle of the night and just started conquering lands. And not a lot of people know where he came from. All they know is that he wants complete control over the land, and he wants to subjugate people to his sort of cruelty. And when he takes over, if you oppose him, he'll turn you into one of his nocturnal minions, and then subjugate you to battling other people. But if you do join him, he promises you peace, prosperity, and absolute pleasure. You're just gonna.
So the demon promises you peace and prosperity and pleasure if you join his massive horde of zombie-looking mofo's that bring pain and anguish to everybody else. I sense a deception. I think we're gonna have Fowler throw down with the Nocturnal King. I think that's the only way to get to the bottom of these shenanigans.
He may not be completely full of truth. He might be full of BS.
Right? He might just be behind that Spencer's deal. Then we've got all the demons, the Nightmare Generals. Now, are these guys specific Nightmare Generals? Are they named characters?
Yeah, so they're specifically. So these are the disciples of the Nocturnal King. So if you are one that is feverishly following him, he will end up giving you certain control. So most of his minions are mindless; they're zombies. But if he decides that you show a precedence towards his stance,
Heroes releases nocturnal minions.
I love it.
What's up, Jake Adams?
Thank you. So these guys are given, as he's conquering lands, these ones are then giving territories to control over, and they're giving. This is again him playing into the idea that you're going to own things, you're going to be given prosperity in that. So these guys are given specific things, and then they're also allowed to go and control their own parts of the army and carry out his will. So he's not always out there on the battlefield. Sometimes they might be dealing with one of these guys. They might be dealing with one of the generals in his army.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, you always need your underlings to, take hits for you. And, it works in that, you're not ready to fight the big boss yet. You got to beat his lieutenants, and you got to work your way up to him. Now, I think this is the character I am most intrigued by, the Radiant. Tell me about the Radiant.
So in Demon Hunter Raven, we had something called the Relics, and we revealed something called the Lightstone. And in that, we revealed that there was something of an entity within it that was giving the power to Adam to become the actual avatar, the Raven armor. And we're gonna touch on something similar to that. We're gonna reveal a little bit wider range of where these stories are, and this is something called the Radiance. And she is the one that's going to be handing off the Radiance armor to Naomi. So she is also the avatar of God's virtue, and she deems those that she wills to be getting this armor. So you're chosen. It's bestowed upon you. So she's the beholder of one of the relics of the Radiance that gives you the armor. So that's about as much as I'll say right now.
That's what I think about God's Avatar too. Moral Rising. I had the same reaction. I was like, "Who is this schmexy creature?" And then I read, Avatar of God's Virtue, and I was like, "I don't know if this is going to work out the way I want it to." So why don't we talk about the tiers, man? You're doing pretty well right now. You got 85 backers, around a week to go.
Yeah.
You met goal. You're everything now is just kind of gravy on top. You got a number of tiers that are worth looking at here. The base book, the main book, is $25. Now, how big is the Radiant the Radiant Rapture book itself? Because I know the Demon Hunter Raven Omnibus is like 250 pages, and that's both a tier and an add-on for 45.
Yeah.
This physical book is 25. How many pages is that?
So I think it's up to 64 right now. So it said 60 at the top, but
okay.
Ended up adding a few more pages. Then that's not counting, I think, the covers that we'll have in between to segment stuff. So right now it's about 60 to 64 pages of actual story. It's 3 issues, or the 3 chapters as we call them. So on Patreon we release them digitally as we go through the story, and then we release them in full contained arcs to kind of tell a story more coherently. It's fun to put out the full arc because I've got about 5 of these planned. So to release each chapter would be somewhat
like cumbersome.
And overwhelming too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of story to be told. So I've already got the next. I'm already drawing up the next arc right now for volume 2, and where the story will go. But so it's 3 issues in there. About roughly 20 to 22 pages for each issue in there. This is just a combined one.
Hey, Delicate Art. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us today. So then there's more digital stuff. Then there's the catch-up tier, right? Which is Radiant Rapture plus Demon Hunter Raven chapters 1 through 8. And then there's this big old fan tier, which is the Radiant Rapture, the Prince, the art book, a documentary. Why don't you tell us about this art book, this documentary?
Yeah, so I like experimenting with new tier ideas. So the fan tier is kind of our experimental tiers. I've done an art book before, but I'm trying to do something that's a little bit more professional looking. It will have character designs, descriptions, and other things that like some selected black and white pages. But I wanted to show a lot of the behind the scenes stuff because I love art books, and I love diving into other creators process and how they came into that sort of like why did they end up on that design, or why did they end up on that choice. So this will kind of go through some of that in more of a visual sense. And then we have like a 10-minute documentary. It'll just be kind of explaining my thoughts, idealisms, philosophy behind this story. That will give more further nuance to a lot of the talking points in the book, and fill in some questionable maybe ideas, because I'm a faith-based person, so some of the subject matter will have a faith-based. I mean, we're talking about nuns and monasteries and church background.
It's fair, right? Yeah. You kind of figure if you're going to write about something, you should either research it or have enough to know to write about it, write what you know. So if we're getting into this subject matter, there is definitely like actual religious connotation to it. So by the way, looks like you picked up a backer in Collision Bomb. So thank you so much there. Mortal is a fan of the $100 tier, and tell us more about the documentary.
And then the documentary will just be kind of me holding a conversation one-sided, like, and kind of going and showing some of the pages and some of the ideas, because I tend to make a lot of mistakes, and I try to do a lot of trial and error. So we'll be talking about like, how did we end up at the final product, and how did we get to that point in the process, and then what does this story mean in the overall encompassing divine anomaly? Where does it fit? Where is it going? Without revealing obvious things in the future. But that's the cover for it. It has some of the old original designs in there. Because I revealed this character last year in the chapter, in the volume 3 deluxe edition. And people that read that version will notice that her design looks a little bit different compared to what it did, back then. She's got the headband and everything now. And at the time we didn't have the name Radiant Rapture. It was was just called Naomi, because we hadn't quite figured it out yet. But I like those processes.
So she's going to get added to this collage, I assume. The next time you do more Divine Anomaly stuff,
Yes.
she's going to, get fit in. For those of you who don't know, this here with the green blade things, that's Sunchild, the battle hippie. He's got really cool chakram that have like energy in them, and he's actually a peace-loving guy, but he'll fight demons. You got Demon Hunter Raven, who's sadly dead now. You said this is the Crusader, right?
Yep.
And what is her name? I can never remember.
Violet.
Violet.
She is a demon hunting assassin. She's more ninja-esque. Right. So we've got knights and ninjas in our respective
and detectives
who we revealed last year. And funny enough, haven't done anything with, which I can promise she will be popping up.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be stuff in store,
yes.
for those detectives. One thing that I know about you is because I've had a peek behind the curtain, guys.
Right.
Nick, in his description, he says, "I am always tired." It's because Nick is always working. His brain is either always working, or he's drawing, or he's scripting and planning stuff out. I've seen some of the stuff he's got planned for Divine Anomaly. I can't tell you about it. That would be mean. But there's a lot coming down the pipe, and this thing is just going to keep growing. So it's a good idea, in my opinion, to at least get on while you can. I think the Demon Hunter Raven Omnibus is a great place to do that, because Demon Hunter Raven was released, in chunks. There's number 3 right here. This is chapters 1 through 8. So this is everything that you need to read the backstory of how all of this started, culminating with Raven's death that kind of opens up the Divine Anomaly. Is there a way to get Sunchild on this campaign?
Yeah, there is right? Like a whole package deal.
Right.
Where I ended up, like, you can do this. So we did Saint Nick as a demon hunter as well, because his story.
Right,
is
you
prevalent.
did, yeah.
So there's a few other extras that you can get.
And you're doing Demon Hunters in the 100 Acre Wood, right?
It was a joke. It was a joke, and everyone said, "Do it." I'm like, okay,
do it. I mean,
so
that's the thing. Like,
and
you can never have too much Demon Hunter, in my opinion. Like, they're exciting, they're fun.
Yeah, the Demon Hunter Winnie the Pooh thing is going to be a free thing that anyone that backs any tier, whatever you get, it's going to be a free digital copy of whatever we can get done in that time, because we're just doing it as we go. We don't really know where we're going to end up with it. It's just as long as we can keep doing it and people are enjoying it, it'll be a free digital copy. At some point, we'll produce a physical, but it's been fun because Paul Tucker is scripting it right now, and we're playing with the elements of the original story that's in the public domain. To turn Winnie the Pooh and Christopher St. Robin into the most badass looking demon hunters in the 100 Acre dreadful woods.
Dude, I can imagine Piglet would make an interesting demon hunter too.
Oh man,
I'm not sure if he's demon hunter material. But.
It's surprising. Paul came up with a cool iteration to reimagine Piglet as a. I won't say anymore because
he's bait. He's just bait. That's what he is, right? He's piggy bait. Mo says, "Is there going to be a crack rockumentary in the making of the 4-minute Aerith trailer?" I think that there should be. That thing is quite impressive. Yes, we are talking about Sunchild and Violet and all of the cool, exciting characters that Nick is creating in his universe, and there are so many more still coming. We did have Oasi V. Trickle into the chat with us, hanging out. Thank you so much. We will be talking later. Mo says, "Do that which hath proceeded out of your mouth, but if ye will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sin will find you out." Black Rose Comics, Oathbreaker. I don't know what's going on there. I'm worried now. I'm gonna have to check in after the show and find out what these guys are, up to. That sounds like pretty condemnative.
I didn't see whose comment was. I missed it, but someone's asking which actual Christian theology is. Is it Catholic? And I'll be up front. We don't dive heavy into the actual theology. We're telling this as a story as if it is, if it's a Catholic. This is just more as if people were living this and walking it. We're not getting into heavy theological stuff. We're just going about if people are living these lives, what does it look like with everything. I try not to get preachy. I try to use the idea of parables like what Jesus used in the Bible to tell stories of people dealing with the circumstances, temptation, sin, and all that stuff without talking down to people.
So you're not going to take the the Christian faith and then separate it into multiple denominations. It's
Right.
more going to be the Christian theology as the backdrop for these
Right.
stories, like you said, parables. Now, would that be like Abrahamic? It exists in your universe, and we are specifically standing in front of the backdrop of Christian theology right now. But we might be able to go and visit the Jews a little bit and see what golems they've got to fight demons.
Yeah, everything's open for use and writing and stuff like that. But actually, I like using the idea of the church history as a backdrop for a lot of our storytelling. So while the order is more of a paramilitary church that's based off of Catholicism, without trying to talk down or bad about them in any way, because they're their own thing, the idea of all these groups separating was something I played into it. You have the group called the Navi, or the Nevium, which is also the separation idea of the Lutherans, and you've got the Baptists and stuff like that. So there's separate demon hunting organizations that also harken back to the idea of what these denominations might be.
Right. Especially, this one's taking place back in the 1100s, in the 12th century. So we're way back in the day before we saw so many of these divisions.
And modern day.
The Navi, they run to the New World.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And so that's 300 years later than where the book is set now.
Yeah. And in the modern day, you'll see more of those questions brought back up. How do these things all tie together? But I try to stay away from theological sort of things. You might see it maybe brought up into some degree, but we try to do more living life as this sort of lifestyle, and why we choose it.
So tell me why you decided to do a crossover with Girl of the Megafists. These two are so very different. This does not seem like the match that I would have made necessarily. I get that it's a fun one, but why work with Tyler?
I know, he's kind of weird, isn't he? And he's
of all the people you could work with.
I know. It was I like crazy ideas, and I like doing stuff that doesn't make sense. And this didn't make sense, and it seemed like something that would be like, can we make this happen? And I just hit him up, and I was like, you up for this? He was like, yeah. So we came up with a really funny scenario that makes no sense and yet works, and I think people enjoy it. It's a slice of life sort of deal that puts both of these two into somewhat of a situation where they have to join forces and yet maintain their sort of personalities and lifestyles that they have. And it's Paul Tucker wrote the 4 pages, and I always tell him, I said, you wrote my character better than I do.
I believe in Paul's ability to resolve these two settings and make the characters work.
He does. I'm actually jealous because he wrote everything better than I could. So I'm like,
well, it's always nice to have to find those people that can take what you do and then just sort of amp it up to the next level. Exactly. Speaking of great people to write with, Radiant Radio is joining us in the chat. He's actually the guy who did Noirlum, which I was mentioning.
Oh,
earlier.
cool.
He is a great editor. He'll definitely hone in on the stuff inside of your script that works, maybe doesn't work, or could be improved. Hire him. He will edit your stuff for the cost of a pizza party. Maybe just feed him pizza. I'm not sure. Pizza's good. One of the things I think we should do in the network that we've got going on is since so many people are down to help each other and collaborate and work, we might want to just open up our possibilities. Like you working with Paul, I remember when you announced Sunchild and you were just so floored because you had Paul do a backup or something with you. Am I right? And then you were like, this is so good. We just need to make a series. And Paul was like, hell yeah, we need to make a series. And now he's writing other stuff with you. Your relationship sort of blossomed, became, what it is evolved into now. And that's the kind of stuff that I really dig in the network that we're working in. You can team up with people and then suddenly find someone that you want to work with who kind of just adds that extra piece to what you've been doing.
Absolutely. That's
like Phoenix working with B-Rose. B-Rose would be helplessly lost without Phoenix.
That's
Neostar says he would gladly work for pizza.
Pizza is good. But yeah, the collabing with other people, it's it can be an interesting process because you never know. You always want to kind of just see where people's strengths are, or are their strengths really what they say it is? And sometimes you kind of learn as you go. And it's always better to start out small with something small, and then so that way you're not left with something really big if things fall through.
Right. Travis will tell you all about that when he's trying to do anthologies. The
Oh
first
my
time that you
gosh.
build out an anthology, when you bring
Yeah.
somebody in, you don't want to give them a whole lot of room to tank the anthology, right? You want to bring them into
Right.
small bite-sized things so that people go, oh, that was amusing. Oh, I really like that. Oh, that was a good, 4 pages. Wow, it was, let's give them more spotlight. And if it's bad, no one's going to be like, oh God, this destroyed everything. It's going to be like, oh, well, this is one of the stories that didn't shine in the anthology. So absolutely, you got to vet people. You got to work with them in small, small ways and build that up. But the thing that I want to say is that we should be excited to try and reach out and work with other people. That's one of the things that on our campaign I found. I brought in like 30 other artists, and like there were some who were more who were easier to work with than others. Some who I feel like we really got our money's worth, and people who I'm definitely going to be bringing back in the future to work on my stuff. But I value everyone that we got to work with on the first campaign of Mavericks, because you build those relationships, and that leads to discovering other stuff too. So I could just imagine you working with Paul, what that's going to lead to with both you and Paul. Working with potentially, colorists. And Paul's like, oh, I love this colorist. Then he works with, someone, another artist, and brings that over. And we just continue to grow the network that way. I'm just starting to make noise now. Don't listen to me. What's up, Oliver? Start over. I can't start over, man. I'm going to be running on fumes soon.
That's the fun
we
part.
We were talking about the book, right? We were talking about the crossover that you did with Tyler. There's look, Della Cake Art. Look at that.
So that's fan art they provided. I'm sorry, I don't know if they're he or she. I apologize. And they did an excellent job without again seeing any of the actual material.
I love that foreshortening. It's so good.
So this is a little spoiler here, but that suit she's in is to sort of give so if she forms the order, she is the actual founder of the order, this paramilitary hunting group. She obviously ends up becoming the head knight of it all. So this story is explaining how did a nun become the actual founder of this organization. Since we've already directly told that in Demon Hunter Raven, that part's kind of already spoiled, but it's the journey, it's the process of how did she get into that power of position, or position of power. I'm an artist. Words are hard.
Yeah, I understand, man. I'm a writer. Words are hard. So Demon Hunter Raven 3 had like 166 backers. Sunchild had 86. You are now sitting at 86, neck and neck with Sunchild. Right. You still have a week left. Do you have any plans to sort of open it up and just like floor it, try and get those backers?
Man, I'm bad at that part. I'm kind of I just hit everything. I just talk everywhere, and I don't do live streams as much as I used to. I'm kind of just my schedule is so awkward because
I'm exhausting.
Yeah, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I've got 5 kids, and my wife is a volunteer helper at the church, so I don't have as much time as I would love to be on streams or talk to people. So I try to hit up links, talk to people, DM people, and so it's really just kind of getting the word out.
So at this point, it's a lot of word of mouth, and trying to get other people to help out pushing the campaign. Yeah, I think that if you have people who you've worked with in crowdfunding, you can definitely count on some of that assistance to bring more eyes to your book. Right. But that said, I mean, you're no slouch at this. You've been around the block 6 times, right? You've crowdfunded 6 different campaigns.
Yeah. So
what are the obstacles that you've encountered, and how have you overcome them?
Well, the newest one, so one that I really thought was a good one was you build momentum with each new crowdfunder, especially if you do like Project 1. It's the same time, like Mavericks 1, Mavericks 2, Mavericks 3. You kind of keep building with that audience. But when you start a whole entire new project, you are technically starting a whole entire new audience to some degree, especially if you don't have a very good background where people are like, Brandon Sanderson, you can start a new project. People are already familiar with your writing or your work.
Has he backed you yet? By the way,
No,
I heard
no.
he said I'm backing all of the literary campaigns on Kickstarter.
I
And
did
I'm like,
not get
really? I
chosen,
wonder if
no.
you backing any of the people that I know back in their comics, Brandon, or are you just full of shit? I'm calling you out.
He was just
We
in the
got to send
publishing
Fowler
area.
the link.
Yeah, let's
Send
get him.
Fowler the link. Sick him on Brandon Sanderson. I'm telling you, that guy's got $6+ million he's sitting on. He's not doing anything with it.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
But yeah, starting new projects, especially I don't know if a lot of people understood that this is a prequel continuing into that. So I'm trying to simplify and help people understand that this is just simply the continuation of that story. And then two new characters, people that liked Raven may not be into Sunchild. So we're trying to open up the door to, giving everyone something that they'll like. Sorry, excuse me. And so each project is having started up a whole entire new group of people that like it and getting to know more of our writing style and what we're after. Because I'm a big fan of anime and movies. So when we work on our books, we don't do a lot of exposition like we do purely dialogue. So we try to maintain a flow of that. It feels like you're being immersed into this world, and each piece of dialogue is explaining something that's really important without drowning you. Because I'm an artist first and foremost, so I like to let the art speak for itself a lot of times, which has been a problem because my artistic skills haven't always been up to the merit or level that the story required. So I think as each book has come along, that has been an area that I've tried to up the quality in. Well, thank you.
Zaid says he loves the armor and sword design. I know it really feels like you added that like Templar flavor to the characters and really like just sort of stepped back from the stuff you were doing earlier, which had ninjas and other stuff like that. It was much more modern because it was set now, and the influence was definitely more Asian inspired, but you've really pulled that back and you've gone heavily into like the Western cultures. Where exactly this is France, right? We're set in France.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, it takes place in the 1100s, so they would have been slightly just in between Crusades, like the second and the third one, from my understanding of history.
Right. We're gonna get Richard
yes
on the scene, right?
Yeah.
I know what you mean, Nicholas. My art skills have gotten better, but I can only do so much. All of us are limited by our mortality. Well, maybe me, but
depends.
right.
Unless you're immortal.
So, I'm not going to say anything. Hey, what's up, Chris Oury? Thank you so much for tuning in, catching the tail end of this interview about Radiant Rapture and the Demon Hunter Raven Omnibus. I would strongly consider backing. I know we backed. I think I doxed us earlier a little bit that, we picked this pledge up. It's a really good idea, in my opinion. It's the entire backstory of Demon Hunter Raven, which is where all of this began. That cues up the Divine Anomaly, which is the story moving forward. Nick is going to be reaching out into all these different genres, developing more characters. Kind of the universe has exploded from here. So I really think this is a good opportunity for you to jump on the train and sort of see the origins and the big bang before you go on the ride. Do you have any advice? What's that?
That's a really good way of putting it.
Do you have any advice for fledgling creators who are thinking about getting into comic books now? Like, what should they do? What shouldn't they do?
So for me, I would always say, keep getting back up. You're going to get knocked down several times. You might have one really good campaign and then maybe the next one doesn't come through. Never stop marketing. Always try to have something out there that people want to attach to. Giving out value or something like that. It's sometimes it feels like a numbers game. Sometimes it feels like you're fighting an uphill battle or you're being overwhelmed and drowned. And that's like a weird part of the process where everything's coming against you from all odds. But like when it all comes together, it is so fun. And then you want to go and do it all over again, which is like insanity. So you do have to be a little insane to jump into this, I think. I don't know of any normal people that do this. I think I haven't met anyone that's normal yet that does this. But just make sure you're having fun. Set up a plan. And if it doesn't work, failure is a really good teacher. there's a lot of times where we can get stuck in a mindset of like, oh, I failed, it's done. If you have the ability to get back up and see where you failed and fix that issue, you're in a better position than a lot of people. It's I don't know. There's just so many factors, but if you just keep going, eventually you'll make it. It's just, but just make sure you're learning from your mistakes, you're learning from the process, and you're getting feedback from people that see what you're trying to do, because not every person that's giving feedback is always has the same intent that you would have. So it took me a while to find.
Always fail forward, right?
That's
Unless you're Fizz, at which point when you fail, you need to learn when to give up. Neo Star says, I am not sure where Henshin Hero Rising Man would be without the help of Felipe, Miss H, and Paul Tucker. I love you guys all. And Paul was saying that, an important part of this is networking and building something. And that's really where you're at. So I agree that a good piece of advice is, if you are stuck in that uphill climb, learn that there are other people who are in this too. You are not alone, even if you think you are. We are the competition, but we are also the cooperation. And if you can't scale the mountain, you'll never be good competition, right? So there are people out here who want you to succeed, because they want your book to get good and get better, so that we can be better than you. That's the only way. The only way I can be better than you is if you're on the scene for me to be better than. That's all I got to say, right? So
I feel it's like a friendly sportsman, like competition. Like everyone, you want to see the person do better, but then you also want to do better than that person. Like,
well, that's the whole point. If I don't help you get to like, oh, I don't know what printer to use. I don't know how to like get my marketing going. I don't have an audience. I don't know if my colors are good enough. If I don't have you there, there's no one to compete with. And I will stagnate because I can't up my game. One of the great things about having, Brian around is that he's always upping the game. 4-minute trailer. The next thing is going to be a 4-hour trailer. We've got to see movie. Who's doing what next. And that what's next is a great way for all of us to push our campaigns and the things that we're putting out harder and harder. Like, this is why bookmarks and trading cards and stickers don't cut it anymore. Those used to be the go-to things to add to a campaign. Everyone's done them. They're dead. That is not what is going to sell your book. That's not what's going to incentivize people to back your project. We are on to the next phase. Standees are the thing right now. Those are going to be dead by the end of the year this year. No one's going to want standees because everyone's going to have done them. So it's always about pushing the bar, like raising the bar on ourselves, but we also have to get other people there so that we can compete with them. My book will never get better unless I have someone to compete with, which means I got to promote the hell out of Aerith so that he can get all of these backers so they can get his book and go, wow, this shit's amazing. And I can go, yeah, where do you see what I got? That's where I'm at.
And healthy competition grows everyone, because then you have more people to network and influence across the board. Because if none of us are growing, then that means we're all slowly, fading out of relevancy, and that's not healthy for anyone. That's not good for anyone.
Right.
I hate the idea of sabotaging other creators or starting beef with other people, because
it's not worth it, man.
It's
like, you're making enemies. You don't want to make enemies. Enemies are bad. Right. Frenemies aren't that great either. I would much rather have friendly, what is it? Cooperation, where we're cooperating and we're competing. It's competition, but it's cooperation, like that way I can even like reach out to the people I'm competing with and be like, yo, you want to get on my book for a hot second? You want to like jump in and do, a 4-page thing for me? I'll do whatever for you. And we're now, exactly. Except B-Rose. Yes, I'm coming for you, Nick. Paul's got your number, buddy. He's gonna punch that ticket.
He's gonna have an incredible year. I know some of the stuff he's putting out. I'm just like, oh man, I gotta up my game.
I can't wait, man. Make sure that you get in touch with me. We'll see what we can do. We'll get you on the show. We'll promote you. What up, Arrogant 8? Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys need hype, Arrogant is where to go. Arrogant and D-Wag. I don't know where D-Wag's out right now. He's probably sleeping. I like Coomertition. Yes, Aerith likes Coom. He's gonna be doing Coomster soon, so he'll tell you all about that when it premieres. So I got a line of kids packing books and fulfilling great photo for marketing. Good. Yeah. Put your 5 kids to work.
True.
Zayd was like, he's got 5 kids. Put him to work.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Getting them to cooperate though is a hard part because they're still pretty young.
You have to incentivize it. Incentivize it.
Yeah. Here's a chocolate candy bar for you.
We have the hype, the coom, and the crack. We do. Coomsters, sign up is live. Don't forget to go check that out. Yep. Dropping the links for you. I want to see a new a Namco x Capcom opening full of indie comic characters. That's one of my main dreams. That would be really cool if we get like a fully animated one too. That'd be a little bit of cash to throw in there, but I wouldn't mind making that dream a reality. Anyway, is there anything else you want to say to the lovely viewers at home tuning in to check out this interview?
Well, I just want to, for me, it's just saying thank you for everyone because of you guys and anyone that's supported any of my projects or previously supported. It's allowed me to be a stay-at-home dad, take time with my kids and watch them grow, make stories. It's an incredible blessing. It's not something that I get to sit here with my kids all day, tell stories, watch TV with them, play with them, and then draw, right? So it's something that I wanted to do years ago. And because of you guys, you've really helped me kind of be able to invest in my kids as well. So you guys are not only investing in me, you're investing in my family. And that's heartfelt right now for me because they're the most important thing to me right now. And being able to set them up on a firm foundation, grow them into, respectable adults when they get to that point. So I just want to say thank you guys for supporting me and helping me support my family. That has been the biggest thing for me. And so I just want to say, Thanks for that, guys. That means a ton.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we're always happy to help out, and you bring us cool books. We'll back the hell out of them, right? Because that's how we do. #crackpackbacks. Day. Bow. Same 100. All right. I'm gonna see if I can queue up this out.